Alright, what's up guys? Welcome to this video and this presentation. For those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Justin Lambert. I'm 25 years old. I'm an online fitness coach currently living in Dubai. And in this video and in this presentation, I'll be showing you guys how I completely transformed my physique and was able to sculpt the exact physique that I've always wanted by bringing up my lagging muscle groups. Okay, I know before we start, steroids this and anabolics that, yes, I am enhanced, okay? Steroids were involved, but, this is not that type of video, okay? I'm not going to be like those guys on the internet that you see that, claims natural and claim they built this amount of muscle in the shortest amount of time, while they were actually enhanced, okay? It's not that type of video, okay? So this video goes a lot deeper than that. It's not just about, building muscle. It's about exactly how to target your lagging muscle groups, okay? And I'm going to show you exactly why enhancements weren't the answer, okay? And it actually did not matter at all. So, all right, let's get into it. So as you can see here on the left, I'm 20 years old, very, very skinny, minimal muscle mass. And the thing that you can clearly see is that my chest was always, a big lagging muscle group, okay? It's something that I was always very self-conscious about, was my skinny chest, okay? I had really bad chest genetics, and it took me 4 years, but this is where I'm at the moment. And I can confidently say my chest is probably now one of my best features. And it took me 4 years to get to where I am now because I went through a lot of trial and error periods. Okay, and I'm going to exactly show you guys what I did wrong and how I was able to fix my lagging chest and, eventually create it into one of my best features. Okay, so let's get into it. So this is how I cracked the anabolic code to sculpt the exact physique that I wanted and bring up my weak points. Okay, so my first natural bulk. Okay, so here on the left, this is about a year later compared to that first photo that you saw. This is about 1 year where I started taking the gym seriously. As you can see, I made a little bit of progress, okay, gained some muscle. My chest definitely gained some size, but it still wasn't where I wanted to be, okay? I still didn't have that exact physique that I wanted, It's only been a year in the gym, but I could already see that, my chest was a lagging body part, and that led to me to do my first natural bulk. Okay, so here I am on the right, about a year later, okay, after I went through my bulk. And as you can see, I did gain some size. I gained about 10 kilograms, but the thing that you can clearly see is the size that I gained went to all of the wrong places. Okay, so it's like all of the size that I gained went to my midsection. Okay, I look very watery. I have a very blocky waist, love handles. This photo doesn't even do that. Doesn't even do it justice. In this period, I didn't take a lot of photos. I was just so unconfident about my physique. But you can clearly see the tummy that I had. Sure, my arms, my chest gained a little bit of size, but like I said, it still wasn't the physique that I was looking for, and I had basic information about, nutrition and dieting. I knew the basics, what I needed to do. I knew I needed to stick to whole foods, okay, increase my calories slowly. I knew all of these things, and, it still seemed like all of the weight that I gained just went to my midsection, okay, and instead of like the actual areas where I actually want to grow. So that led me to do my first bodybuilding show. Okay, so this is about another year later. There's a lot of trial and error that went in that 1 year period leading up to this, but I left it out because it's not really relevant to what I want to teach you guys. But this is where I prepped for my first bodybuilding show. This is where I also hopped my first cycle in preparation for my first bodybuilding show. I gained 10 kilograms of lean muscle tissue and I was in the best shape of my life. I completed a 15-week prep followed a workout program consistently and tracked my macros every single day. And don't get me wrong, I look absolutely insane. I look damn near like an alien in this right photo. This is about like 3 weeks out of my competition. But it still wasn't the physique that I was looking for. Okay, I still lacked a lot in my chest, and that's why I pointed that out. Okay, so as you can see, I have a very flat chest. I have a very weird chest insertion here, and it just wasn't the look that I was looking for. And this still made me very self-conscious. I didn't have any confidence in my physique because of my lagging chest. And I remember I used to show the photo to people, when they asked me to show them a photo of when I did my bodybuilding prep. And I would show them this photo, and I used to think I looked absolutely insane, but every single time someone saw this photo, they pointed out my lagging chest. They were always like, yeah, bro, you look insane, but if you can just grow your chest or bring your chest up, you would have an insane physique. That used to piss me off so much because, I knew it was true. I knew I lagged a lot in my chest. And I was so afraid that I was never going to be able to fix this problem because, I just accepted that it's a genetic problem, and you can't really fix genetics, or so I thought. So this brings me to what happened next, okay? I went into this recumbent loop of, bulking and cutting, because I had this thought process of, in order for me to, fix my lagging chest genetics, I need to gain more size, okay? I need to gain more size in my chest, Gaining size and gaining muscle is obviously going to bring a lot more muscle fullness, rounder muscle bellies. And, I wasn't wrong of thinking this way. And, this is what I bulked up to. So I'm absolutely jacked in this photo. This is the biggest I've ever been, 96 kgs. And that's quite a lot, especially for my height. I'm like 5'6", 5'7". So I was pretty big for my size. And I quite liked this look, I quite liked being this big. And you can see I made a lot of improvements. My chest looks a lot better, looks a lot fuller. My arms were a lot bigger as well. And I got to a point where I felt, okay, I'm big enough. I put on a lot of muscle. I want to go into a cut again. Even though I liked this look a lot, I still really wanted that lean aesthetic physique. That is what I wanted at the end of the day. And I thought I was at a good point. Gained a lot of muscle in my chest. I felt I was at a good point to cut down again and actually see what I look like shredded, So I cut down, lost about 10 kgs. And, I look pretty good in this photo as well. But, this is why I say I went into that loop. I just kept bulking and cutting. Whenever I cut down and I see, okay, this is still not the look that I want. My chest is still lacking. I just went into another bulk, okay? Because every single time that I cut down, I lost all of the gains in my chest. And the more that I did that, the more progress that I made, the more clear it became how bad my chest genetics were. Because it was like everything around my chest was improving a lot. And, it just made it so much more clear that my chest was lagging a lot, My arms were a lot bigger, my shoulders looked insane. And that just pointed out, okay, this is not at the same level. As you can see, I have this weird chest insertion here. So eventually I realized what I needed to do. Okay, so I realized that it's because of my bad insulin sensitivity and my bad cortisol levels that I was unable to, push the food that I was eating to the right places. Okay, so for those of you who don't know, I'll explain it to you. So when you are very insulin resistant and pair that with bad cortisol, okay, your body doesn't absorb nutrients properly and it stores all of the food that you're eating basically in your midsection. Okay, so that is every single time when I bulked, my waist just got bigger. I just kept getting that blocky midsection, So after years of trial and error and relentless self-experimentation, I created a method that allowed me to master symmetry refinement, transforming my weak points and lagging chest into a strength, and sculpting the dream physique that I once thought was impossible. Okay, this is the anabolic method. Okay, I call it the anabolic method not because of anabolics. Okay, I have client transformations. They were completely natural and they managed to get very similar results, if not the exact same results. Okay, so This method implies to whether you're natural or whether you're on gear, it doesn't matter, okay? The science behind it stays the same, okay? So that's what I say here. I was able to use this exact blueprint to get similar, if not the exact same results for multiple of my clients. Each of them followed this method down to a T, and it transformed their lagging physiques into the more symmetrical anabolic version of themselves. So I hope you guys have a pen and a notebook. If you don't, I suggest you get one out. Okay, you want to be writing this stuff down. You can always refer back to this video, but it's really good to have it written down so you know it sinks into your brain. Okay, so let's get into it. So first, I'm going to show you guys a client that used this exact same method with me. So this was in his begin stages. Okay, he was with another coach before as well. So as you can see here where he started. Okay, he had a lot of fat, very blocky midsection. So he did a cut. Okay, as you can see, he lost a lot of fat. His waistline got a lot slimmer, but you can really see the amount of size that he lost in his chest. Okay, his chest is extremely flat. Okay. And he just made the same mistake I did. Okay, so he saw that he lost a lot of size in his muscle bellies, and he wanted to build that back up. So he went into a bulk again, and as you can see, the result of that, he just put on a lot of fat in his midsection again. Sure, his chest grew a little bit, but at what cost? Okay, you just basically look like a little bit of a better version than he was here. So he was same like me. He was stuck in this recumbent loop of bulking and cutting, and not actually making real progress. So when he came to me, I knew exactly what to do with him because I was in his exact shoes. Okay, so this is where we implemented the anabolic method. Okay, when he first came to me, I knew he still had a lot of body fat. Okay, so we first needed to get rid of that. And this false perception of that you can't lose fat and build muscle at the same time is absolutely trash. Okay, it makes it a lot harder, but if you structure your diet plan correctly, okay, you are able to not only maintain a lot of the muscle, but gain a little bit in the process as well. And that is exactly what we did. We were able to cut him down, get him a lot leaner, and you can see the amount of mass that he gained in his chest compared to the first cut that he did. Okay, so he's able to not only maintain but also gain a lot of size in his chest. Okay, so once I felt like we were at a good spot and we were nice and lean, we went into our bulk. Okay, we kept everything nice and tight, gained a lot of size in the chest again, and the final result, we cut down again and we were able to maintain a lot of the size in his chest. And you can agree, he looks absolutely insane in this picture. This is absolutely his dream physique, and he used this exact method down to a T. So I promise you, the things that you're about to learn in this video, if applied correctly and consistently, you can get very similar, if not the exact same results. So let's get into it. So this is the anabolic method, a strategic system built through years of experience, trial and error, designed to optimize performance and build lean muscle and refine your physique with perfect symmetry. Okay, so there are 4 pillars of physique reconstruction. Okay, so I'm going to dive into the first one. And the first one is the metabolic primer. Okay, let me just move this. So the metabolic primer, okay, this whole pillar is all about gut health. Okay, it is so underlooked, to look after your gut health and actually prime your gut and your body to firstly be insulin sensitive and actually digest the food properly. Okay, because if we're eating the food that has a certain purpose, obviously we're eating to get to a certain goal. If our body is not digesting that food properly, okay, it's not going to do anything for you. You're not going to make any progress. Okay, and how we implement this pillar is, for all of my clients, I have them drink a morning digestive cocktail. Okay, it consists of apple cider vinegar, lemon juice, garlic powder, and L-glutamine. Okay, this is the perfect combination to prioritize your gut health. It's a lot of great acidity to help with digestion. L-glutamine protects and improves the gut lining inside of your gut. As you can see, it restores the gut lining and reduces inflammation, promotes healthy gut bacteria, and balances the microbiome. It improves digestion and nutrient absorption, strengthens intestinal walls for better movement and regulation, and enhances insulin sensitivity and metabolic efficiency. Okay, this is the most important thing that we want to prioritize is insulin sensitivity. Okay, because it doesn't matter how much size you gain, if you have that blocky waist, it just completely throws off, the aestheticness of your physique. We all want that slim waist. And it also creates an internal anabolic environment for muscle growth and recovery. Because your gut is so healthy, and because of all of the healthy gut bacteria, you set yourself up to be as anabolic as possible and, build as much muscle as possible. Okay, let's get into the second pillar. And the second pillar is insulin ignition. Okay, this is where we really dive into, improving our insulin sensitivity. Okay, so the focus of this pillar is fat oxidation and insulin responsiveness. Okay, so what I have all of my clients do every single morning, I have them do a fasted walk. Okay, so this is not their main cardio block. This is not about cardio. Okay, it's not about, training to lose fat. Okay, it puts your body in the state to lose fat, but it's not the main like cardio block. Okay, it's a fasted walk of just about 20 minutes. You'll get about 2,000 steps in that walk. And what I mean by it puts your body in the state to burn fat more efficiently. Okay, so when you do a fasted walk in the morning, okay, your body has no fuel. Okay, you are fasted. Okay, so that immediately signals to your body to target fat for energy. Okay, fat oxidation. Okay, so that is what we want to prime our body for. Okay, and by doing this first thing in the morning, it's going to allow us to continue to improve our fat oxidation throughout the rest of the day. Okay, because this is something that people don't understand or they do not know. Okay, our bodies are very, very smart. Okay, so think back to our primal stages. Okay, when our ancestors woke up in the morning, they didn't immediately stuff their face with a bunch of carbs and spike their insulin and their blood sugar. Okay, if they wanted to fucking eat, they had to hike, 50 miles, hopefully find a deer or something, shoot it down, carry it all the way back, cook it, and then they could eat. Okay, so that will reward their body. If you immediately just stuff your face with a bunch of carbs in the morning, without doing anything, you're just giving your body the reward without doing anything first. Okay, so immediately your body's in that state of, okay, I don't need to burn fat. I immediately got food first thing in the morning. Okay, this is how the rest of my day is going to continue. I'm just going to get food the rest of the day. But if you start with activity in the morning before you ate, okay, your body is already thinking, okay, I'm already active. I just woke up. I'm already active. I need to start burning some fat. I need to start burning some stored glycogen in order for me to function throughout the day to find food later. Okay, so this is the number one mistake a lot of people make, is just stuffing their face first thing in the morning. Okay, I'm not saying that you cannot eat in the morning. Okay, that's not what I'm saying. It's about balancing your insulin levels. Okay, and that is caused from eating a bunch of carbs. Okay, so this is what brings me to our next pillar. Okay, the nutrition blueprint. Okay, and the focus of this pillar is controlled insulin response and nutrient efficiency. Okay, and as you can see, I say it's minimum of 5 meals required. Okay, you get all of these people online that say you don't need to eat that much, you don't need to eat 5 to 6 meals a day. It's fine if you only eat 2 or 3. It's fine if you only eat 1 big meal a day. Calories in is calories out. It's the same thing. It's fucking bullshit. That is the main reason why you are fat. You get all of these fat people that say, I don't know why I'm fat. I only eat once or twice a day. That is the exact reason. Okay, you need to feed your body more constantly. Because you're only eating once or twice a day. Your digestive system is so slow. Okay, your whole digestive system is in this neutral state the whole day. And this is exactly the reason why people are fat. And it's because when they eventually do eat, your body immediately stores all of the nutrients that it gets. Okay, it's not pushing it into the muscle, it's not focusing on performance, it's focusing on longevity. Okay, it's storing everything. So if it doesn't get food, it can use that stored nutrients and glycogen later for energy. Okay, that's why as well you get a blocky waist. That's why you have love handles and a tummy. Okay, it's because your digestive system is shut down. Okay, your body stores everything that it eats because it doesn't eat a lot throughout the day. But when you constantly feed your body five to six times a day, okay, not in quantity, or sorry, not in not in quantity, but just in portions. Okay, balanced portions. It realizes that, okay, I'm constantly getting food, I'm constantly being fed, I don't need to store anything. Okay, I get fuel constantly. Okay, that is why you need to eat more throughout the day. Okay, so that is exactly why I say it's a minimum of 5 meals required. So meal 1 of the day. Okay, so this is after you've taken your digestive cocktail, you've done your morning fasted walk. Okay, this is the first meal that you have. Okay, this is exactly why I mentioned that it doesn't necessarily mean that you cannot eat, in the morning. Okay, I'm not telling you to do, intermittent fasting or anything. As long as you structure it correctly. So as you can see, there is absolutely no carbs in this first meal. It's mainly prioritized on protein and fats. And why I do it this way is because it stabilizes blood sugar, because there is no insulin spike, because there's no carbs in this meal. Like it says here, it prevents insulin spike and it prevents brain fog. Okay, so when you get that insulin spike and that blood sugar spike from eating carbs, it's going to spike really, really high, but it's going to come down quickly as well. And that's what causes brain fog. That's what causes cravings. It allows you to be hungrier a lot sooner as well. So why we focus on protein? Obviously, this is the primary macronutrient for muscle building. And why I say add a good amount of fats in this meal as well, because fats slow down digestion. Okay, so we want that slow release of amino acids that we get from the protein. We want that to gradually happen throughout a period of the morning. Okay, so this is going to allow you to stay a lot fuller, a lot more satiated, and you're going to get that nice equal release of amino acids from the protein. Okay, so then we get into your pre-gym meal. Okay, so it doesn't really matter when you have your pre and post-gym meal, okay, as long as it stays around your training block. These always need to stay around your training block. Okay, the rest of the meals you can change them and swap them around as much as you like. So firstly, for your pre-gym meal, so as you can see, it's high in protein, high in fats as well, high in carbs as well. Okay, so again, protein prevents muscle breakdown, provides amino acids that reduce muscle catabolism during training, improves muscle recruitment. Having amino acids in the bloodstream improves muscle contraction and power output. Okay, so having your pre-gym meal high in protein is going to make you perform a lot better while you train as well. Okay, also enhances recovery because of the process basically begins immediately. While you are training, you get that release of the amino acids that starts repairing your muscle while you train. Okay, and it also consists of quick digesting carbs that are high in GI. Okay, examples of this are things like white rice, oats, bananas, jams, honey. Okay, all of these quick digesting carbs. Okay, we want a quick source of energy while we train. Okay. And yeah, like I said, it's the primary source of your energy is going to be carbs. So it's important for you to get that in before your workout. Okay. It also preserves muscle, supports muscle pump and intensity. And it also drives insulin, hydrates muscle cells. So you're going to get a lot fuller and harder pump as well while you train. And the reason why we add fats in this meal as well, once again, the same reason, fat slows down digestion. So once again, we want that slow release of amino acids and carbohydrates throughout the period that you are training. Okay, I shouldn't say it slows it down, it just prolongs the process. Okay, so we want that nice prolonged release while we train, because I imagine that you guys have witnessed this before. You have your training program, you train super hard in the start of your session, and it's like halfway through your session it's just like all of your energy disappears. Okay, it's almost like you reach this dip. Okay, it's because of, you know, you didn't get that long prolonged release of the amino acids and carbohydrates. Okay, it quickly spiked you, gave you a lot of energy in the start of your training session, but it dropped a lot quicker as well. Your body used up that fuel, so the fats are going to stop this from happening. Then I just gave you some examples as well, like oats is a very good quick digesting carb. Whey isolate is very, very good. Okay, you don't necessarily need to use powders. It is a lot more effective though. Whey isolate is very quick release as well, and then good source of healthy fats, dark chocolate. Okay, you can use things like almond butter as well, peanut butter as well is really, really good. So then we get to our post-gym meal. So obviously you can see this one looks a bit different. Okay, we're high in proteins again, high in carbs, but zero fats. Okay, the reason for this is because now we want this to happen as fast as possible. We want that release of amino acids and carbohydrates as fast as possible so that it can push into the muscle. Okay, we don't want this to be prolonged. We want this to happen as fast as possible, because we all know your muscles don't grow when you train them, they grow when they recover. Okay, so we want this recovery process to start as soon as possible. Okay, so rapid glycogen replenishment from fast digesting carbs, improved nutrient delivery, improved repair and growth from protein, whey iso, rapid absorption, and you also get very, very good antioxidants from the blueberries. Okay, that's why I add this in as well. This helps a lot with inflammation. You know, it's also just going to help a lot with you know, the recovery process. So berries is generally a very, very good source for this. Okay, that's why I always have either blueberries or strawberries or blackberries post gym. Okay, so it's a really, really good hack. Okay, so meal 4. So this meal generally depends on your macronutrient needs. Okay, so the portions and the macros of this is going to vary on, you know, what exactly you need, what your calories need to be, and what your macronutrients need to be. The only thing that I always focus on in this meal is generally, you know, midday. So I add in complex carbs. Okay, because midday is usually when people get the most amount of cravings, and you know, they're usually at their hungriest as well. So we add complex carbs like white potatoes, okay, because it's going to digest a lot slower. So you're going to stay a lot fuller and a lot more satiated throughout the rest of the day. So this is going to keep you from binge eating. Okay, so adding complex carbs in this meal is, you know, super important. Okay, and it's always good to just add in some fiber as well. I make sure to at least prioritize healthy fibers in each of the meals that I eat, you know, again, to prioritize gut health. Okay, this meal is also mainly consists of whole foods, like I mentioned, complex carbs, proteins, fats, and carbs varies depending on the macro needs, like I mentioned. Okay, so meal 5. So usually I stick to around 5 meals, you know, depending which phase that you're in. Obviously, when you're bulking, you need a lot more calories, so that is when I would add in an extra meal, for example, a meal 6. But the structure of this meal would always be your last meal of the day. Okay, regardless whether you eat 5 meals or 6 meals, this is the structure you want to follow for your last meal of the day. Okay, so once again, you can see absolutely no carbs in this meal. Okay, we don't want to spike our blood sugar for this meal. We don't want energy for this meal. You're going to sleep. It's your last meal of the day. If you eat carbs, you know, this is a mistake that a lot of people make. If you eat a shit ton of carbs directly before you go to bed, what is your body going to do with that energy? Okay, it realizes that you're inactive, you're just laying in bed. So what does it do? It stores it. Where does it store it? Because you got that insulin spike and that blood sugar spike, it immediately goes and stores it around your midsection. Okay, so we want to avoid this. Okay, so absolutely no carbs in this meal. Okay, but as you can see, again, it's high in protein. This will also vary depending on your macronutrients. Okay, so if you need more protein, it's fine to add protein into this last meal. But fats are super, super important for this meal as well. Okay, it's really good to pair that with protein, because fats again slows down digestion and prolongs the release of amino acids that we get from protein. We get, you know, enhanced recovery while we are resting. Okay, remember, we want to you know, specifically prioritize muscle recovery. That is when your muscles grow. So we want to prioritize recovery when we go to bed, okay? So Greek yogurt, really, really good to add this into your diet, especially for your last meal of the day. It's high in protein, digests slowly, releasing amino acids gradually through the night, okay? This also helps prevent muscle catabolism. By the way, if you guys can realize, my first language is not English, so I struggle a lot to speak English, so it's not as fluent, so bear with me. But once again, if I add in a protein source, okay, whey iso just digests a lot quicker, okay? We don't want our body to, focus on digesting when we want to go to bed, okay? Because your body uses energy to digest, okay? We want to use the least amount of energy when we go to bed. So we want something that's easy to digest, and whey iso is, perfect for this, okay? Natural fats, like I mentioned, slows down digestion and helps stabilizes blood sugar and controls cortisol, okay? Once again, we spoke about cortisol. We want to, keep this under control. Cinnamon is a really, really good food source that you can add, especially into your last meal of the day. Helps a lot with digestion as well, and it regulates your blood sugar. So this is a really good hack. Always add it into my last meal of the day as well. So here is where the key part comes, okay? Pillar number 4, which is the high day protocol, okay? So basically what I've explained to you guys up until now is, I wouldn't say it's general knowledge, okay? There might be, a few things that you've learned that you didn't know, but it's all about macros and calories and, just the function of different foods. And this is basically the knowledge that I had, when I still faced the same problem. But after I implemented this 4th pillar, this is what really, really changed what I was struggling with, and what I was able to actually improve my lagging muscle groups, okay? So as you can see, the focus for this pillar is it elevates glycogen, enhances output, and speeds recovery, okay? So this is incorporating your diet plan with your workout program, okay? So as you can see, it's a 5-day training split, okay? And I have tried every single split in the book throughout my journey, and by far, a 5-day training split is by far the best and the most efficient for recovery, okay? We've mentioned this. We want to prioritize recovery. I've tried everything, push-pull legs, you name it, okay? All of those splits are very, very high in volume, and it doesn't allow a lot of, time for recovery. So a 5-day split, is super, super efficient for recovery. So there's a reason why the best bodybuilders in the world follow a 5-day training split, okay? For example, C-Bomb follows a 5-day training split, okay? So there's a reason for that. So we want to focus on the lagging muscle groups. We want to train them twice per week, okay? And we want to allow a 2 to 3 rest day cycle, okay? So for example, if I train chest, that was my main focus. If I train chest on Monday, okay, I want to allow a 3-day rest period and before I train chest again. So that means I will train chest again on Friday, okay? After I train chest on Friday, I'm going to allow another 2-day rest period and train chest again on Monday, okay? So once again, we want to prioritize recovery. This allows efficient time for the muscle group to recover, especially because we are training it twice per week, okay? So this is where a key part comes in. We want to implement a 20% carb increase on that specific muscle group that we want to focus on, okay? A 20% carb increase. So it's 10% increase in carbs pre-gym and a 10% carb increase post-gym, okay? So again, it should be fast digesting carbs. So you increase it by 10% and, before and after your gym session, okay? The reason for this is why every single time that I did a cut, I lost all of the size that I gained in my chest, because I wasn't supplying that specific muscle group. Because it was lagging, I had to supply it with more nutrient support, okay? This is why you add a 10% increase in carbs before and after gym, okay? So this is going to allow you to still burn fat and cut down efficiently while you are still fueling and giving the lagging muscle group exactly what it needs to maintain or gain in that area, okay? So And this you implement whether you bulk or cut, okay? It's the same thing. It's a lagging muscle group, okay? You want to give it more nutrient support than the other muscle groups, okay? So whether you bulk or cut, you keep using this same tactic, okay? And then for the rest of the macronutrients, you keep your proteins and fats consistent throughout the rest of the day to maintain metabolic stability, okay? You don't want to just eat a shit ton of food, okay? I say that we want to provide that lagging muscle group with more nutrient support. I mean carbs, okay? So don't just take this as a reason to just stuff your face for whatever, with whatever before you train and after you train, okay? It's not going to help, okay? You're just going to put on unnecessary water weight, okay? So keep the proteins and fats consistent throughout the rest of the day.